About 4 years ago, I tried and failed to make a decent Halloween special because, as some of you might recall, the game of choice had some trouble finding its own content. Now we shall try once again. I gotta be honest, the reason I'm making this video now is less because of the game itself and more because I saw a video titled "Every Silent Hill Game Reviewed" by Avalanche Reviews, and I noticed that he missed out on this gem. Well, no worries buddy, I got you covered. Silent Hill Orphanage, also known as just Silent Hill Mobile in I believe European regions, and not to be confused with a Japanese-only Silent Hill Mobile, which was distributed on some other platform that I'm not familiar with, is a game for mobile phones from a bygone era, where smartphones were still a good few years away from taking over. Released in 2007, it's a first-person point-and-click horror adventure, which begins scaring you right from the start, but not in the way you'd think. Would you be surprised if I told you that Konami didn't actually develop this game? Yeah, they seem to be the ones who published it, and certain credits will suggest that it's produced by Konami, but it's actually a company called Game Federation AB, situated in Sweden. They are the ones who actually made the game in the first place. Good luck figuring out anything about these guys though. They seem to only have 2 titles attributed to them, and that's it. I can't even find a logo or any substantial information about them, other than them being part of some other company called DGT Limited, whose library of games is also a mystery to me, but if I ever come across their stuff, we can have a look at it and see if it's any good. One thing I have been able to find out is that quite a few people behind this game only ever worked on Silent Hill Orphanage, or at the very least, were only credited for it, so take that as you will. Released for the incredibly poorly documented J2ME platform of mobile gaming, Silent Hill Mobile lived up to its namesake in the most literal sense, as it effortlessly flew under the radar of most people. I mean, the mobile gaming scene back then was not particularly big and popular to begin with, unlike it is today, but this was a shot in the dark that missed almost everyone. Apparently there is at least one official review of the game that suggests that it's a pretty good title, and that it's got good audio. Well, yeah, we'll see about that. The story of Silent Hill Orphanage apparently takes place in the Shepherd's Orphanage in Silent Hill, where all except 3 children were mysteriously murdered by an unknown entity. You'd be excused if you didn't catch that, because the game is not very interested in telling you that for some reason, or much of anything really. But hey, they got a sign that you can read to learn your location. Sort of. You'll have to forgive me, but I'm not too familiar with the main line of Silent Hill games, as I could not afford nor find the games to begin with back then, and I haven't played any of the games since. Not yet, that is. Why exactly are we in this orphanage? Well, that's kind of the big idea of the game. There are 3 characters to play through, and the first one, Ben, has come here to investigate the mysterious murders, since apparently he was one of the 3 kids that survived. As he walks around the now abandoned orphanage, which looks remarkably tidy and furnished for something that's been abandoned something like 20-30 years ago, And all while being hounded by a disembodied voice of a schoolyard bully, he hears another character, Karen, calling out for help from somewhere in the building, rather than calling out for a manager, which is quickly determined to be the storage room in the basement. Oddly enough, you hear her voice from the restroom up on the second floor, but as it's explained, they talk through the ventilation shafts, so I suppose it could work. Strangely enough, Karen does not know anything about the mystery moidas and is acting a little odd, claiming that she cannot remember anything. Rather than trying to open the storage room, however, which for seemingly no reason is locked, despite Karen somehow getting in there, from the outside presumably, Ben finds the iconic spooky symbol, the Halo of the Sun, I believe it's called, in one of the restroom stalls and, decides to just touch it for some fucking reason. Very smart decision, transporting himself into the otherworld version of the orphanage. Now, you'd think something important would happen in here, but as far as the story is concerned, we're just bumbling around here until we find a clue needed to progress the story, where we find out nothing of interest regarding this investigation. No, instead the clue helps us find out that Ben has cancer. The other kids don't matter anymore, I guess. Sucks to be them. He then goes to the shower room when asked by the disembodied voice to do so. Presumably drops the soap and just keels over and dies. That's just how it is sometimes. They are then given control of the second character in the game, Moon. Now, all things considered, Moon is the most ridiculous character and also a waste of time, so let's try to get through this shit quickly. She's one of the 3 survivors in the Orphanage moidas. How do I explain this next bit without sounding completely ridiculous? Fuck it. She ended up here because at 3 years of age, she was attempting suicide and her parents, rather than being the responsible and caring individuals, just said, fuck it, we disown you now, see you later. What the hell? I wish I was making this shit up, but I'm really not. That's her character arc. Who acts like this? And also, at 3 years of age? Suicide? Are you serious? Have you met a 3-year-old that tries to do that? They can hardly comprehend the world around them. Now, why is she here in this orphanage as an adult? Good question. I'll get back to you on that next Tuesday when I actually figure it out, because not even the Silent Hill fandom wiki could explain it to me. Nothing happens in her chapter, and she just bumbles around, solves a puzzle or two, and then gets unceremoniously killed in the restroom by a ghost or something. It's never specifically explained. We don't even get to see it. You know, I was told that Silent Hill as a series was fantastic in its characters and writing, as well as the spooks, and I can believe that if we're talking about the mainline games, but so far this game is leading me under the misapprehension that actual people gave a shit while making this game. Moon ends up dying shortly after finding a suicide note that she never wrote, which is something that should make you very spooked, in case you didn't notice. Oh yeah, she also found Ben's dead body earlier, but she's completely unfazed by this. Oh well, he's dead. Finally, once Moon kicks the bucket for sure, the story actually starts going somewhere when we pick up the last chapter as Karen. Yeah, what a surprise. She's the third playable character. How did she get inside the storage room of an abandoned orphanage? What's her story in all of this? Funny you ask, because I don't actually know. I don't even know if the game explains this or not. Apparently, she got teleported in here by her sister, who is the big bad ghost that's haunting the place, who also apparently murdered Ben and Moon a little earlier. Okay. I'm pretty sure the game could have explained that and actually shown us that, instead of having to rely on the fandom wiki. With a bit of effort, it is revealed to us that Karen's sister, Alessa, is haunting the place because she wants revenge for being put here and, through unknown means, has manipulated Karen into killing the others. This naturally gets our protagonist upset. And me as well, because the logistics of a small child killing the whole orphanage, caretakers included, is just unbelievable. Which ends up in Alessa deciding that we are now a traitor to our cause, so we must die. This is where another ridiculous thing happens. The ghost turns out to be a spider, whom you have to shoot the shit out of with a gun. Which you just happen to find on the remains of Moon, and Moon found the gun on the remains of Ben. And where the hell did Ben get it? Well, he didn't get it from here, he just brought it in. Because I suppose when you explore abandoned buildings, a gun is a necessity. Well, then again, I suppose it is. You never know who could be squatting inside. Still though, a spider? What the fuck? I'm pretty sure that we could have come up with a better idea for a monster. Spiders in Silent Hill are, to my knowledge, not particularly common and never been very spooky, if they even show up in the first place. But wait. Hold on a minute. The same fandom wiki suggests that Alessa died in a fire with the parents, and that Karen was the only survivor. What the hell is this bullshit about her wanting revenge for being sent into the orphanage then? Who is the one making shit up here? I'd love to answer that, but I don't have the slightest fucking idea. And neither does the wiki, from the looks of it. Where did they get this info from? I can't find anything like this in the game itself. To summarize the story in a single sentence, or less, it's a fucking mess. Just forget about it. Alright, so the game can be all bad, right? Well, you'd hope. I can forgive a bad story if the gameplay is good, but unfortunately that's just not the case. To begin with, this is a point-and-click horror adventure game. Note the horror part. Not a terrible idea, but it doesn't work very well on a platform like this. You control the cursor with the number keys 2, 4, 8, and 6, which act as the directional buttons in this and many other games of its time. Pressing 5 and highlighting an object opens up the context menu where you can choose to look at things, interact with them or collect them, talk to something, taste the objects, or use something from your inventory. Number 1 is for equipping your gun, if you have it, which you will, don't worry about it, you will. And number 3 is for the first aid kit. The controls overall are pretty simple, so that's a good thing, even if they are a bit slow. The cursor takes a good few seconds to scroll across the screen, but you shouldn't worry about it because even though there is combat in the game, you don't need to be super fast, so it's fine. One thing that does bother me though is that talk and taste is the least used function in the game. I think it's used a grand total of twice in the whole thing, and not once is it used for tasting anything. I never liked that. I never liked games having commands which are only used for like one single time. Would it not be easier to just use one of the already existing commands for that, like interact. Interact could have been used for certain things, like talking. It is an interaction after all. Oh well. The graphics are also pretty good, nice and moody, but I gotta say it's a little weird that the files used for the backgrounds are PNGs if the kEmulator's console log is to be trusted. Space was limited on old phones and the game itself is only about 500 kilobytes. Why not just use JPEGs and save some more space? It's not like you're gonna lose graphical fidelity here. The resolution is already pretty small. You could probably count the individual pixels here if you tried hard enough. The good audio, though, well, I told you we'd be back on that, and I'll just listen to this. Yeah, that's some real good stuff there. Really blows the socks off of the Atari 2600 users, I bet. If you think I'm just cherry-picking examples here, though, you'll be disappointed to learn that, well, this is the best you can do. This is the only piece of music in the entire game. Fucking hell, I'd hate to hear what that reviewer thinks is bad audio on these kind of games. Now, to be fair, J2ME-based mobile games were notorious for having difficulties playing audio properly. A lot of good games have this really strange issue, where the game is only playing a musical track or a sound effect once, and it never plays again until the game is restarted. And I've had this issue on actual hardware too, though at this time I'm unable to show this since I don't have anything this old and also compatible. So I can forgive Silent Hill Mobile for any audio related shenanigans, but are you seriously telling me this is the best music that these guys could produce? Get out of here. I refuse to believe that. It's more likely that they didn't have the opportunity to produce a better thing, so they just left the placeholder in place and went along with it. As far as actual gameplay is concerned, this has got to be the most shallow and lifeless Silent Hill experience, and I feel sorry for anyone who played this. I mean, it's one thing when I play it because I do it for the hell of it and possibly due to self-flagellation tendencies, but that's unconfirmed. But when others do it without knowing any better, that's just depressing. The big problem here is that for a series that's best known for its spooks and puzzles and the good writing, there's just neither of that here. The puzzles in particular are the worst thing, because the majority of your time is spent just walking around and picking up items in a pathetically tiny orphanage. Like, look at this fucking map and compass. Are you really going to be lost in this place? No way. If you actually got lost here, let me know in the comments, because I want to know how you got lost. I need to solve this mystery. Whenever an odd puzzle pops up, you're more likely to guess your way through it than you are to actually solve it as intended, and it also doesn't help that some puzzles have no hints anywhere in the game. Take a look at this clock puzzle here, for example. Sure, it's really simple. Just hit the buttons in the right order, but it pretty much sets the bar for the rest of the game. Half of the hours of the clock are missing. The few that are there are illegible, and since there's only 5 buttons, you really can't fuck this up and get stuck for long. There's only so many combinations possible. Plus, if you get the button sequence right, they stay locked in place until you either solve it or fuck it up. So, really, there's only so many times you can mess it up before you get it right. Only other 2 actual puzzles I can think of, besides boiling the wax of a candle in a pot of swamp-ass soup, my personal recommendation from DiGiorno, are the safe puzzle and the final puzzle. The safe puzzle is probably the most annoying because there is a hint for it, but every time I've read it, it made less and less sense to me. Now, it is possible that I'm just not very smart, and I will agree with that idea. It is possible that I'm just a doo-doo-brained motherfucking idiot. But to figure out the combination for the safe in the office, you need to read a poem that was written down on the wall in the Otherworld office in blood. You can see the combination here, but if you read this poem, well, I don't really see how it correlates to the numbers 6, 4, 5, and 3. According to a written walkthrough I found on GameFAQs, bless that fucking man, by the way, the twisting and turning mentioned in this poem are supposed to correlate to going right and left respectively, but see, that would make for a somewhat clever hint if the safe used a knob and not buttons to unlock it. What kind of an asshole tells you the combination of a safe of this kind in rotations? Probably the same kind of asshole who uses a secret safe to keep only a single letter that simply says, "Please treat Ben nicely, he has cancer." Who hired this shithead? On the other hand, the final puzzle is piss easy. Sure, it has a hint that's a drawing of 4 people engaging in a ritual to produce a 3 AM clickbait video. But again, the puzzle isn't that difficult. There's only so many combinations possible here. You might get the solution first before figuring it out the intended way. All other puzzles involve just walking around and collecting stuff to interact with other stuff. And even then, there isn't even that many instances of it. Flavored text when examining things is also lackluster, often just being the character refusing to do things, saying, "That won't work," or saying, "Oh, there's some spoopy shit." Screw world building, I guess. Who the hell cares? Who's gonna examine all of this shit, right? This is only an adventure game. Now, I do have to give credit where it's due. The Otherworld version of the Orphanage looks pretty spooky, while the corridors are passable and the monsters are somewhat disappointing. I mean, it's just spiders again. The rooms themselves are where the effort of the developers shines through. Great work. Of course, you might feel by now that I kinda hate them now. I really don't. If anything, I feel sorry for them. They may not have had enough time or resources needed to make the game that it was meant to be, but without any insider info, the best I can do is speculate. I also liked that there was only as many items as was necessary. I've never been a big fan of junk items that don't serve any purpose in adventure games. It's just wasted pocket space. Especially when your inventory is limited. Hey, look at this stupid looking tree. It grows children's faces as fruit. Fun for the whole family. The monsters are supposed to be deformed children or something like that, but they look like spiders. They don't look anything like that. Now, apparently the American version changed the way the monsters look to better resemble their intended design, but where the fuck am I gonna find that specific version of the game that works properly? The biggest shit that I had to deal with was just making this thing work. And I suspect that the problem here is some kind of an ancient anti-piracy technique. Thanks, Konami. Every time on my original copy of the game, when I get to the restroom, the game fails to load something. As I could determine there was some kind of a picture, probably a background image. It throws me the content missing error and boots me back to the main menu. So damn annoying too, because a surprising amount of versions that float around the internet suffer from this exact problem. And I don't know how to fix it. Now, I got pretty lucky to find this working version after all these years, but one thing I didn't expect is this fucking jump scare. completely silent. It just sneaks up on you after a minute or so in the game, and it tells you something in Russian too. But the game is in English. Why is it talking in Russian to me? What the hell is this jump scare doing here? Well, curiosity got the better of me, and I attempted that translation. Now all the Russia is laughing at me. Because apparently all it says is something to the effect of, "Would you like to play the full version of this game?" Well, yeah, of course I'd like to, you fucking asshole. But why the hell did you need to do a jump scare just to get this problem solved? What's even the point of this? Just load the fucking game! What am I missing here? And this doll that keeps showing up here in the main menu, here in this fucking jump scare. It's just a whole bunch of nothing. You can find it here in front of the office in the overworld, but it's just a background object to look at. None of the characters do anything with it, and it doesn't show up ever again. It's just there. Why is it featured in the main menu and the game screenshots if it's just there? I have no idea. It's not even that scary. The Russian text was more worrying because I thought I woke up an ancient virus or something for a good moment there, but no. It's just asking me if I want to play the fucking game. To wrap things up, Silent Hill Mobile is pretty terrible, but as terrible as it may be, it deserves to exist and to be accessible, as it is part of a mobile gaming history, one that is very often maligned and trash-talked and left undocumented, which I think is largely undeserved. I'd like to spend more time and explore more classic mobile gaming titles in the future, and I hope that this quick look at one of the crappier pieces of history, at the very least, was entertaining. With that said, my name is Walder from DaGameTrain, and I thank you for watching.